Good afternoon, all my friends, all my family, man. This is inspiration through information, right? And I'm your brother and host, man, Jamal, man, right? Lord Jamal, and I come today as usual, wishing and bestowing good things upon you, right? And I hope to encourage you and be able to help guide you to a place of comfort, a place of peace, right? I was sitting here and today I want to talk about healing, right? It's a series that I'll be speaking about. It's like a 5-part series, right? And the beginning of it is basically the importance and value of healing, right? And I wish to discuss some of those things today, right? You can always follow me, you can contact me, right? You can go to one place, right? Solo TO, right? J Holmes 195, right? You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, right? You can go to my website, inspirationthroughinformation.com, right? You can send me an email, inspirationthroughinformation@gmail.com, right? All my pages are linked with the same attribute, inspiration through information, right? You can reach me in any one of those platforms. Leave a comment, right? I'm always welcome to people's views, people's opinions, right? People's thoughts, right? I have no issues with none of them, right? And I'm prompted to do this at this time, right? I'm sitting in my car, and I always come out and I sit in my car, when I'm at my place of employment, right? Sometimes I come outside and sit in the car, right? Because it affords me an atmosphere of quietness, solemnness, and peace, right? Sometimes you got to go to your peace, right? Instead of looking for peace to come your way, sometimes you got to go to your peace, right? And that's a part or attribute of one who has experienced healing process. They get to understand that, peace is something you seek out, right? And you develop it, right? From a series of actions, right? In order to establish it, right? And I was looking through social media and, right, my wife posted something, right, and this is not in relevance to anything we endure, but she likes to listen to a lot of positive stuff, and I'm always joyful for that stuff, right? And a young brother had made a statement. She was listening to something. The young brother said, when you act or live in your authentic self, you will always be disrespected. People will always try to disrespect you, bring you down, critique you, right? Make you feel less than because you're living in your authentic self, right? And I was pondering on that. And I said, okay, that's in relevance to what this series of healings is going to discuss, right? And the importance and the value of healing is because, yes, those things may or may not happen. The question is, when they do happen, how is your response to what's happening, right? And providing you have not healed from some of the damage that those things may have caused you in the past, I can assure you, you will have the same effect happen to you when it takes place. The importance of healing and the value in healing is simply just for the fact of the matter that once you've healed with a situation or a scenario or some things that you've been through in life, once you've healed, thoroughly healed, and what I mean by thoroughly healed means that no longer has an ill effect on you. It doesn't mean that the things that may have caused you pain stop happening, but they stop having an ill effect on you. They stop putting you in a place of discomfort or disgust or anger or anything that takes you out of your place of peace, right? I promise you, if you're not healed from whatever it is that has caused you pains, emotional pain, spiritual pain, physical pain, whenever that situation, because guess what? That situation will arrive again, right? There's no beginning and no ending, right? What's done under the sun will constantly keep happening under the sun. The faces that implement it may change, but the acts themselves will still come across, right? And if you have not healed from those situations, right, you will still be affected by it to where it will shift you. Shift you. The importance of healing is so that you stop shifting when things happen, or when things don't go your way, or when something is said that you don't particularly like. And all of a sudden you become emotionally out of place. And now you're sitting in a space that you once wasn't in prior to it happening. That's a strong indicator that is not healed, right? For example, like the young brother was saying, people will say things, right? People will say disrespectful things and stuff for you to that nature, right? My question is, what is your determination of what's disrespectful and what's not disrespectful when spoken to you? Because a lot of people interpret a different opinion or different perception about what it is that you're doing as disrespect. Now, how minute of thought process is that? That's putting a barrier on the thought process. When it comes to the thought, right, there's no beginning, there's no ending, right? The thought will exist even when nothing else exists. The thought will be here, right? So what I'm saying to you is that we must first understand what do we deem our level of disrespect, right? And then once we come up with that part, right? Then we have to sit back and say, well, where did we acquire that perception from? See, because authentic means the true you in its trueness of state, right? Because each and every one of us are authentic and unique in that one facet, right? But how do you know when you're really there? Because if your today's authentic self is built around the pains or avoidance of the pains, or protecting oneself from the pains emotionally, spiritually, and all that, then you're not in your authentic self. You are in a state of developed self from things that have happened to you. See, we tend to compensate. We tend to go try to shift or try to change so that we can protect ourselves from these things happening. But when you almighty, right, when you have intelligence, right, not education, intelligence, you know and understand that, listen, if we do that, we're actually shutting ourselves in half, right? We're not acting in our full self, because guess what? Whatever feelings you're trying to protect yourself from, whatever place you're trying not to go into, or whatever thing you're trying not to absorb or come in contact with, right? You listen, it's impossible, because good and bad exists equally. Happy and sad exist equally. All these things exist, right? And in order to be full in totality, you have to know that there's going to be times where you're happy. There's going to be times when you're not so happy. There's going to be time, listen, where the results are going to be good. There's going to be times where the results are not going to be bad. But if you're shifting with each change to the point to where you're trying to redevelop who you are according to the situation, that means that you're not living in your authentic self, because your authentic self will stay the same. It will stay the same no matter what it endures. So when we're talking about the importance of healing, right, we're going to deal with the importance part, right, before we get to the value, right? The importance of healing is simply so that you, within you, and who you are, can stabilize, right? That means that you're no longer walking around with 1,001 masks. What does that mean? What is a mask? A mask is when I have to present myself or represent myself in a certain facet or a certain way because of the circle or the location or who I'm around. If you really want to know a person's, for the most part, who they really are, ask all the circles that you see them entertain and see if the impressions or the views of the people align with each other. See, if they aligning across the board, then there's a great chance you're living in your authenticity, right? Because everyone is getting the same you. Now, what does that mean? People say, well, you can't give everybody the same you. I say, why not? Why not? Because the reality is that who's for me will stay with me, and who's not for me will move on about their business, or I will elevate past them without having to change. I should not have to change who I am based off of where I am or who around I'm in. Now, if who I say I am is causing havoc in people's lives, or causing other people to feel some kind of way, or feel like they want to act a certain kind of way, because you don't have to do nothing for people to do that, right? But 90% of the time, right, people's reactions is based off of the way you're dealing with them. The way that you're dealing with them. But we are so self-centeredly trained that we want to look at how we're being dealt with as opposed to how we may be dealing. Right? And the determining factor of who we are is going to be based off of how we're dealing with people, not how we're dealt with. Right? So a lot of times we attach our authenticity to our image. And images shift. Just like shadows, they come and go, depending on the view of the sunlight on them, depending on what light is being shined, or the direction or the angle of the light that's passing through them is going to determine whether the shadow is seen or not. So when we're talking about importance of healing, right, whatever it is you've been through, whatever it is that caused you to shift, and what I mean by shift, when it caused you to shift out of frustration, when it caused you to shift out of pain, when it caused you to shift because you were hurt, right? Or because you feel like you was done unjust or justified, so you shifted. Okay, you made an adjustment, but in that adjustment, you brought along that reason. You brought along and you carried that reason with you, right? But as life continued on, this is what we tend to do, right? And this is not everyone, but we tend to start padding our lives on top of the wound. And then we think we're healed miraculously. But it's proven that you're not, that when you're faced with the scenario that's appears like the one that hurt you, that sounds like the one that hurt you, your reaction towards it is just as intense as if it's still happening. That right there is a strong indicator of someone that is not healed from a particular situation, right? And until they heal thoroughly through that, right, it's always going to plague them, even in their elevation, because constant elevation causes expansion. Just like a wound left untended to, if you get bigger, say I'm a slim build, right? And I decide to work out and I get built and I got a cut, right? And I start getting big before the cut is healed. What happens is that cut starts to open up wider and wider and wider to where now I need stitches so that it can keep open, it can stop from opening. If I would have just went through the healing process to allow it to heal, because it will heal, right? But it's how we go about healing, right? Are we healing with its accuracy, or are we trying to replace the pain with something else, hoping that it would heal the pain that we're going through, such as another individual, such as another person? I see a lot of posts and I see a lot of things, right? Both men and women say various things like, listen, don't be her problem, be her solution. Don't be his problem, be his solution. But here's the truth, right? Listen, if they haven't acquired the solution before they got with you, you will not be their solution. You will be a Band-Aid. And just like a Band-Aid that's left on a wound for too long, it becomes withered. It becomes a raggedy, right? It's no longer given the complete protection that is needed, right? So the wound begins to be exposed again. And it's in that exposure that you'll start to receive some stuff from people, right? Because they in pain. They in pain because the wound that they never thoroughly healed from is exposed. It's exposed. And now you become the reason for the wound. You done took the place of the actual reason the wound even came about. Because you thought you can be the solution to someone else's healing. Now all you can do is be a support to someone who is trying to heal. Or you can be in the way from someone who's not trying to heal. It's not the most sweetest sounding thing, right? But it's a fact. Sometimes you're the one that's in the way of their healing because you're trying to save them from the pain of their wound, their unhealed wound. Physical wounds will heal in time if left alone. Mental, emotional, and spiritual healing takes work. You have to put in work to heal eternally. And emotional, mental, and spiritually is an eternal healing. The support comes from external situations, but if the individual is not at that place to where they're seeking healing, they're just seeking a replacement, or they're seeking to put something in front of their healing. A lot of people use a lot of different things. Some people use shopping, some people use sex, some people use money, some people use anger. We use all different things to compensate from that place where the wound exists, except for the one thing that's actually going to work thoroughly, and that's healing. That is why it is important to heal from whatever it is that you've endured. You have to heal so that you don't be spewing out poison, pus, all the pains and the liquids and all the stuff that's coming out of your wound onto everyone else and wondering why they're not okay with that. Not knowing where everyone is at the time that you're in the place takes into consideration. But I've come to find through my own life at one point in time, right? And through a lot of interacting with people who've gone through or in stuff or enduring stuff, right? I don't seek all my knowledge from a book or from a theory or from someone's thesis. Most of my knowledge comes from people who's actually involved in going through and dealing with it and gotten through. And just about each and every one of them who have gotten through all relate this one thing to it. They said I had to sit down and I had to give myself time and space to heal from the pain. And I asked them, I said, well, how did you come up with that? What did you do that seems to be void to so many people? And one word they said I had to get some acceptance. I had to get some acceptance with what has happened to me that caused that type of wound in me. And I had to get some acceptance that yes, it did happen. And the reason it seems to continue happening it's because I'm basing everything off of that one thing. So all my reactions, all my growth, everything that I established in my life was to avoid that one thing. But in that process, I started creating it because anything that looked like it or I thought it was that, I thought it was that. I reacted as if it was that. So until I got some acceptance with, yes, that was happening, no matter how ill or how painful or what it is endure, right? There's no time. Understand what I'm saying to you. There's no time frame on healing, but it is a process. It is a process, and the process definitely requires you. Healing of self doesn't take place without self. Anything that you align yourself with is just supporting or maybe giving you some information helping guiding you to the place that you may have to go in order to get the healing that you're seeking. But once you get to that place, it requires you. It definitely requires you to show and make steps forward, right? That's the that is the process. And it is the most important part of the process of healing. It must involve you. There's no greater importance in healing than the individual that is seeking healing. No matter who's giving you what, who's helping you with what, who's guiding you with what, if you're not participating in it, it will not work for you. We learn these things in the process of healing by going through it, right? Someone can tell you a whole bunch of information based off of educational learnings on how to acquire healing. But if he or she or whomever have not healed from something, their knowledge is always external. Someone who has healed from some stuff, their knowledge comes from an actual experience. And their knowledge may not work for you, but the method, everyone has a different thing that they may be healing from. But the method, the basis of the method is all the same with everyone I'm talking to. They got to a place in time where they just no longer wanted to be in that space. And when they did that, they became open for the suggestions and the guidance and the things that can help them get to their place. But they had to participate. That is the importance of healing. Now, the value. We're going to talk briefly about what's the value once you get that. Once you obtain some type of healing, the value. The value is this, right? You now have knowledge and confidence that you can get through. That you can survive a pain so deep. A wound so painful, you can get through it and come out alive. And if you come out alive, that means you came out with an opportunity to do more, get better, experience more, have more. You now have evidence. You can disbelieve everyone in the world. You could disbelieve and not believe nothing no one is saying you. You can't discredit your own survival. We must stop discrediting our own survival, our own getting through. Once you get through, guess what? It's not happening no more. When you fully get through, that means when you make it to the place of complete healing in that situation. Understand that, in that situation, because some of us have had multiple pains, multiple wounds. And each wound, the method to healing is the same. You have to participate in it. There's no greater value than your own knowledge and experience of getting through or healing from something. Now, how do we heal without being bitter? Yeah. Because if you're healing and you come out on the other side of healing with bitterness, have you fully healed? Have you fully healed? No. See, full healing does not bring along bitterness. It doesn't bring along any of the baggage that came from that wound. When you get to a place of complete healing, it does not bring the baggage with it. The baggage is dumped, left in the dumpster somewhere. You on a brand new plane with brand new baggage. Nothing that's within your baggage should have the remembrance or the context of the pain that once held you captured for so long. I always share with folks like this. In order to be, you must be a part of it. In order to be, you must be a part of it. We have to start taking our responsibilities in our healing. Because if not, what happens is we become codependent on someone else's version of our healing, of how we should heal. And that may be sufficient for a moment in time. But if that person should ever leave, should ever transition over, should ever no longer be within our lives, our healing goes with them. So if you're in the process of healing and you don't feel like the healing belongs to you, there's a great chance it's not yours. It's not yours. There is great value in owning your own healing. Because once you do that, the fear of experiencing things begin to dim down. You stop being afraid to be in a relationship. You stop being afraid to be vulnerable with your mate, with folks. You start to begin the process of walking in your true self. You are not rock hard. That's not your true self. Because in the stillness of night, in the context or the contours of your own space, where it's just you and you, when you know the thoughts, because remember I said at the beginning, thoughts are endless. Those thoughts, those outlooks on self, the voices that no one else hears but yourself. When you think about yourself, the things that you say, if anyone ever found out, right, and played me or tried me and exposed this, and I'm going to knock his block off. I'm going to take up out of there. Those things. Those vulnerabilities, right, of places that we feel like if they ever get hurt, or if they ever get touched, or they ever get misused, I don't know what I would do. See, those things take place usually when you're by yourself. What others see of you is the created representative that you developed into so that you can protect yourself from the ills of the world. When I say this to you, authenticity, right, of who you are is already enough to protect yourself from everything that happens in the world. So when we talking about healing and the importance of healing and the value is simply that now you can begin to build your life fearlessly. Because you have the evidence that although you've been hurt, although you've been harmed, although you've experienced some things, you've gotten through. You've actually healed. They no longer have that effect. So what that means you got an A+. Regardless of how long it took to pass the test, you finally passed the test. Healing is the completion of the test. It's the A+. The valedictorian. That's what that means for self. And when we get into the next phase, because with each day that we're blessed with, or each day that we see, it's a new phase of our life. I tend to talk to my children. I laugh with them all the time when they assume that because I'm older or I'm an older gentleman, right? Like, I don't know nothing. You know, I was that too. You know that old saying, you so smart, you stupid, right? You so intelligent that you really sit there and attempt to tell folks who have lived one day longer than you are that you know more about life than they do. So we'll do the simple mathematics in closing, right? Please break that down for me, right? Put it in the messages, put it in the comments, email me. You know, you can email me. You can inbox me. You can DM me at Facebook, Instagram, right? Listen, wherever you choose to want to do it, you can do it, right? But please tell me how you, who has lived 39 days, know more about life than the person who has lived 40 days. Mathematically, let me know, how does that work? That's your first mistake when it comes to intelligence and education. You think that because with all that you've acquired, somehow miraculously, you know more than the person who has lived one more day to you. So what that means is they got to see one more day of life than you did. That means they got to experience one more day of stuff than you have. That means that they've seen, endured, gotten through, dealt with one more day's worth of stuff than you have. Therefore, they have one more day's worth of knowledge than you have. So we got to start understanding and respecting the fact that I don't care if you're a day older than me, right? That means that one day you can teach me something. You can inform me about some things that has happened in that one day that I have yet to know. The intelligent mind understands that. The intelligent mind knows that no matter how much you know, you don't really know nothing at all. So therefore, you'll be always open to receive knowledge. You won't be closed-minded. So when we go on the next one, the next inspiration through information, we'll discuss the 4 mains of healing. There's 4 mains of healing, right? That encompasses healing, right? There's multiple ways of healing, multiple things that produce healing, but there's 4 main aspects of healing that encompasses them all. On our next inspiration through information, we will discuss and we will talk about the 4 mains, right? Right now, I just wanted to get people ready and get people prepared and understand the importance of healing and the value of healing, right? We learned that the importance of healing is so that we no longer damages ourselves, so that we no longer live in the midst of the pain. If you're not healed, you are still living your life currently in the pain. In the pain. And you will not stop living in the pain until you thoroughly heal from the wound. Once you heal from the wound, now you'll begin to understand the value of that healing. The value of that healing is that you have received freedom from the pain. You have received knowledge that you can get through the pain, because you're going to experience another situation that may produce pain in you. And if you already have the knowledge that you can get through the pain, you're not as fearful. You stop trying to reconstruct the pain. You stop trying to replace the pain with someone. You stop trying to have other people bring comfort to your pain. You'll know and understand if you remember, because remember what I said. You know when you're thoroughly healed from a situation, because there'll be no bitterness left of the situation. You'll have no ill wills and no situation as far as that old pain. So that means the new pain you will be going into freely. So when you get into a difference of opinion, say for a relationship, you get into a difference of opinion, right? You're not making statements such as you're just like everybody else, and just like the rest, just all that stuff that we tend to go through. That stuff we tend to say, right? That's a strong indicator that you're not healed. Soon as you start comparing the new experience with anything of an old experience, you have not thoroughly healed from that experience that caused you pain in the past. You look at the new situation as a new situation, and there's a great chance that looking at it anew, you'll be able to get through it with minimum of pain, if any pain. because you're dealing with the situation as if it's brand new. So therefore, you're going into it brand new. So therefore, you're not bringing any old wounds. That's why it's important to heal on all aspects. And the value from that is that some things that should end in the moment after they happen has the freedom to end. They shouldn't carry on for weeks and weeks and weeks and turn into grudges and now resentments, and now they become something that we begin to forge our lives according to. If you made it through, if you survived it, then you have accomplished a great feat. So in your new phase, you should be in a world of ecstatic joy, because you, the individual, has knowledge that you can endure and get through and begin to elevate freely. It's hard to cause elevation in your life when you're carrying 1,001 sandbags with you. That does not make sense. If you wish to soar higher, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, financially, you have to let go to weight. You got to let go the 20-year-old weight, the 25-year-old weight and all that. You the only one carrying that in. Most people you meet today wasn't even around when that stuff happened to you. They wasn't even in your life. So why are they being subjected to it? It's simply because healing has not taken place. Whatever it is you seek in goodness in your life, it has to be sought with a clear spirit. So the importance of healing and the value of healing is the beginning process in the establishment of your foundation of growth. So into next week, right? This is Inspiration Through Information, and your host, Lord Jamal, saying, like I always say, I wish for everyone to find prosperity, right? Listen, and prosperity spiritually, prosperity financially, mentally, emotionally. I want each and every one of y'all to reach a plateau that you've never reached before. And the key indicator is that in order to do that, it must have you in it. Have a blessed day. Peace.